there seems to be a blurred line between a blog and an article. Because I know now in modern times, like majority's articles are structured in a way to sell a product, even if it's speaking about a social issue. So like, what's your thoughts on that?
Oh yeah, there's a blurred line. And you know, that came like the late 2000s. So with because the newspaper industry, you got to understand, before the internet really proliferated, we had newspaper advertising. So, you know, newspapers got their advertising from like businesses, and the print edition would be where they would get their money. But since the internet came about, and you had what's that spot that website called? The website where you posted advertisements. It escapes my name, or it escaped. But the internet is what created that confusion between blogs and newspaper articles. All right, because at a certain point, you were no longer journalists no longer had to go through what they called the proper channels in order to get an article published. If you were writing for a newspaper, that often required you to first write the article, give it to the editor. The editor and the publisher, they decided whether or not the article made it into the paper. Through blogging and the internet, that's no longer the case. And people, you know, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but at the very same time, because we are so hungry for money and we need revenue, you know, you have the corporations now, they're oftentimes collaborating with journalists to sell products through journalism. So you have what's called sponsored content, where a journalist might write about Coca-Cola, they might write about a new book, or they might write about whatever the case is, and they'll write about it, but it's not totally in truth. It's more so to sell the product than to tell the truth about the product and get it authentically. So it's oftentimes a case about how to make money from journalism, because people are of the understanding that journalism is a falling industry. And in order to save it, they've often had to mix the newsroom and the advertising world. So all of this came about over the last 15 years. It's just recent, you know, and it's kind of getting worse. I'm not gonna lie to you.
I had a thing cold as ice, because if you look up anything right now, it could be anything from any topic you put up, this man laughing, he knows the truth. Any topic is disturbing to me, because always at the back end now is like, you can purchase a product from us, or you can get the service from us, right? You get what I'm saying? So the thing's super cool right now, serious thing, you know.
But you know, the funnier side of it is that beyond the direct advertisements, though, and I feel like this is the point to highlight, you know, beyond the direct advertisements where you can buy this product, so on, so on. The misinformation were presented in these things. It's funny because most of the time them sell the product them indirectly, and a lot of people see these things as facts because of the supposed journalism now becomes something where a lot of journalists, quote unquote journalists, want to be influencers in a particular light, right? And then when them supposedly become influencers now, them align with these corporations, not directly, but discreetly. And when them align with the corporations discreetly, them put in the agenda now. No people mindset going towards this product and not considering that, okay, why am I going towards this product? Why am I buying this? Why am I thinking about this product? They're not realizing that the person who is an influencer towards you already aligned with that person behind the door. And that seems to take more precedence in the modern society now, you know, as opposed to the broad out, okay, I am an ambassador of this particular corporation. So it seems like the misinformation going around right now is almost cruel and kind of barbaric if you think about it now. And the way how it presented, it start make people feel like, say, okay, them have more knowledge than them actually do, you know? So it kind of mess up the mindset, especially of African people, because I feel like, say, African people, besides spending the most money, African people consume the most. Not food, them just consume what them think is knowledge the most, what is gossip the most. Them consume so much that them not really know what to internalize, and then the confusion, you know, I feel like is a part of the problem where we know have to try eradicate as ones and ones who have the consciousness to try steer the part, and it make things so much difficult. What do you feel about that too?
Oh man, that's part of influencer culture. You know, that's where being a journalist has gotten. It's very confusing what qualifies as a journalist these days. You know, because you can hold a mic up to somebody's face and ask them questions, and then, you know, not to say, I think that the industry is changing, you know, and the industry, of course, with social media and technology, nothing really stays the same. But I think it's all about the quality of the questions and the vibration of the content. You know, one thing that I really can't stand as a journalist is the influencer culture, you know, where people are staying away from the harder, more conscious topics and reporting on solely entertainment. And people are so caught up on celebrities, they're caught up on fashion, and they're caught up on things that are distractions, really. You know, and I think back to the whole Chris Rock, Will Smith thing. People spent, and they're still spending time on it, but I know when it initially happened, we spent about 3 weeks on it. And somebody called me to come onto their news program to talk about it, and I turned it down because I just told them, you know, I don't want to participate in that. You know, please call me back when it's something a bit more serious, you know, about our people. And they respected it. But we need more people standing up like that. We really got to decide, you know, what is valuable content and what is not. And I can think to hip hop, or what is called hip hop these days, you know, the news coverage around that. You know, it's more gossip than anything else. You know, I know when I was coming up, when you were interviewing artists, it was more so about their craft and about what influenced them. But nowadays, it's more so about the more gossipy aspects of their aura. So as far as like who they're dating, what cars they're driving, what jewelry they have, who they're beefing with, even the rap beef is not as credible anymore. It's more so about, you know, things that are just don't make any sense by the end of the day, you know. And the internet has done that in a way where the veil has been torn, where anybody can stand up and say anything and feel like they're a credible person. And the influencers are calling themselves journalists, when in fact, they are just, you know, people who are following so-called rich and famous and leading us toward them.
Before I want to touch on something real quick, right, in regards to this addiction to futile topics, right? All right, as human beings, it's always been there. Fire people like mix up. Let's acknowledge that, right? But I feel within the last couple of decades now, people have been really molded to only take that in, because you brought up a great. If I saw this in sports, right? So I don't watch sports anymore, but sometimes I watch highlights on YouTube. And what I notice is that now, due to the demand, and we have to factor this in too, right? Because I remember original ESPN used to show pure foolishness in early years, like duck hunting, you know, bowling. But now they get so much traffic with the gossip. Everything has turned into a gossip column. If you go on right now and it's a guy named, a black guy, very, I don't know what word it identified as mine, Stephen A. Smith, right? His job, from what I understand, is a multi-million-dollar contract. And you as a journalist, how hard is it every day to talk about something where there's nothing to talk about? Like the man literally has to go on TV and talk about something. So through the pressure now, this man just coming up with pure foolishness, and he just picking up. It's truly, if I was watching the thing, and I'm not lying to you, you know, they didn't talk about no basketball, yeah?
See, that's the 24-hour news cycle though, you know, like
So
about 15, 20 years ago, maybe a little longer than that. CNN started that. They had these news stations on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So you got to fill it up. And they got to a point where they started filming things like birds crossing the street, you know, like, and the content got worse and worse. You know, you can't even put out a good album. People, I think about Kendrick Lamar, people were going on him for waiting years to put out his new album. You can't even breathe as an artist anymore and put out good music years at a time. You got to keep producing content for the sake of doing so. That's how we are as a culture. You know, we need things, and we need it now, you know. And it's this it's this future world, and the phones have made it worse, because we want things now, we want it quick, and we want our information as shallow and as digestible as possible. People don't even want to take the long road and learning something for a long time. Very detrimental, man. Very detrimental.
Well, Fire, I just want to, Fire, you brought up a great point. I know you're a man that support the thing, so you're not a reason to stay, right? All right. You see the social media thing? So say, I'm not sure if they changed it, right? So I apologize. But from what I understand, the basic Instagram video is a minute. They give 59 seconds, right? True. All right. The average watch time down to like what, 10 seconds? And this is for stuff people, this is the part I don't understand. This is for stuff people want to watch. This is just straight silly entertainment, what they're watching. They're choosing to watch this and they can't watch it for 10 seconds. Songs. You mentioned hip hop before. I was reading the thing online saying how basically, I guess they put time into the first verse and the second verse is just pointless because no one's listening to it. And it's like, people are not listening to the second verses. They experienced this in dancehall for a while with the juggling, right? In and out, in and out, in and out. So all these things are being done now to cut down or have cut down the attention span. And as you said, people can't even digest easy things anymore. That's the thing that concerns. If I am in a school and I see it, like this cell phone thing, and I want to make it clear, this cell phone thing goes across class and everything. So I'll make it say it's not no inner city thing. If your kids in high suburban areas with 6-figure income, they still on TikTok, dancing and doing everything same way, fighting, and they're struggling in class. It's a universal thing where this phone has made zombies out of people. It's happening in front of us. People don't want to acknowledge it. You get what I'm saying? But it's a very dangerous thing. And moving forward now, my concern is people's ability to complete tasks, people's ability to even process information. Because it's like, I don't know if it's just it's a dangerous thing that's taking place. Adults, yes, they're doing it, but it's more the youth I'm thinking about in regards to basic skills you need to function as a human being. Because the way I pre it now, like our generation, those who are functioning or have ability to do stuff, you're gonna have to work, not for economics, Fire, for the society to work. Unless they have computers for everything, you're generally going to have to work because they won't have anyone in that position to do so.
But before they ever come into, it's funny though, because these means of these particular platforms supposed to enhance communication, but in actuality, it's deteriorating communication, because now, with all of these fast-paced things and the whole turnover being so rapid, it's like everybody brain start communicating fragments as opposed to communicating in sentences. So you realize that, okay, them start a point, the point can't be finished, then move on to a next point, and then it's just confusion. So people actually talk to one another, but them talking to one another, them not actually talking, because nobody understand what that person is saying. It's like, I say something and you just respond for the sake of responding. And it's like, yeah, 10 years, 20 years go on. And that's how people internalize communication. And it start get silly now,
And I think we as the next, we're the last generation that experienced both, a world before social media and a world when social media touched down. Generation Z, as they call, they were born into this. So a lot of the communication to them is very normal. That's how they communicate. You see it in the music, you see it in their interactions. As a teacher, part of my communication strategy is before we start a session, I like hearing students talk about their day. I ask them how they're doing, and I try to expose them to vocabulary words other than good. Vocabulary words where they can really pinpoint their feelings, and then they got to talk about why, and then they got to talk about their day. A lot of the young people are still trying to find their way with engaging in conversation, because these days it's very easy to not engage in conversation if you're in your phone all day, scrolling through pictures and videos, and you're typing half sentences and whatnot. So the communication, the standard has changed, which is why we got to really bring it back. And I think that, with all of the attention on social media, the quality of writing, once again, has really diminished. So it's a question of how do we bring back the quality of writing And how do we raise the standards in what we consider valuable scholarship? Because everybody's opinion is not the same. You know, people really have to have a mindset where they're dissecting people's opinions and they're understanding whether it's something of value or if a person is coming from an uninformed standpoint. You know, we really don't have that these days. You know, one last point I want to make is that there are people who are not on social media and who are doing quite well because they are not depending on followers and things like that. They are creating more organic relationships outside of social media. I've seen it being done. I'm sort of half and half with that because, you know, the platform that I have is more about spreading information, but there are people who are building connections outside of social media organically. And you do that through one-on-ones with people, engaging in conversation, being present, not being on your phone. You know, like it's, you know, it's a lost art in all seriousness. I know our elders, they could write whole letters, you know, like nicely written letters with, you know, the date and the addresses on the top and all of that. And the sincerely, like, we don't even do that anymore, not even through text messaging, because we just really lost our way as a people. And that's how you build community, by taking your time and really building deep relationships with people.
Well, let me hear you say mountain, mountain.